"Hello, darling, your crazy mother will not let us in. We are on the stairs with the suitcases." Those were the words I heard my daughter-in-law, Jessica, screaming over the phone while I was quietly drinking my chamomile tea in my living room. She'd been banging on my door for 2 hours like a desperate woman. My 4 grandchildren were crying in the hallway of the building. 2 full hours of making a scene, waking up all the neighbors, screaming that I was a crazy and cruel old woman. Do you know what hurt me the most? That my own son, Robert, ran from his job, abandoning everything just because his wife told him his mother had gone insane. He arrived sweating with his tie crooked, trying to jam his key into my lock. But of course his key did not work anymore because I had changed the locks exactly 3 weeks ago, and I had warned him. I had warned both of them. But let us start from the beginning because this story runs much deeper than it seems. My name is Margaret. I am 71 years old, and for the last 15 years I have been the most generous grandmother, the most understanding mother-in-law, and the most self-sacrificing mother you can imagine. I lived for that family. I gave my entire life for them. When Robert married Jessica, I was the first to welcome her with open arms. She was a young, pretty girl, with brown hair always perfectly styled and that red dress she used to wear to family gatherings. She seemed so sweet, so polite. How wrong I was. But naive me thought that finally I would have the daughter I never had. I lent them money for the down payment on their first house, $5,000 from my savings. Money I had saved penny by penny for years working as a secretary in that horrible office where they yelled at me every day. $5,000 that they never paid back. When I asked them, Robert would say, "Mom, you know how things are. Next month we will pay you," and next month never came. Then the grandchildren were born. One after another, 4 little angels who became the center of my universe. I was the one who took care of them when Jessica wanted to go out with her friends. I was the one who bought them clothes, toys, and school supplies. I spent my few dollars on them before spending on myself. My refrigerator was always full for when they came to visit, even if that meant I ate only bread and butter for days. Do you know how much I spent on birthday and Christmas gifts over these years? More than $8,000. $8,000 that came out of my meager pension while they lived in their beautiful house with 2 cars in the garage. But I was happy doing it. I thought that was how a united family was built. Jessica had a habit of calling me when she needed something. "Margaret, can you watch the kids this weekend? Margaret, can you lend us money for school registration? Margaret, can you make your famous cake for the party?" And I always said yes. Always. Because that is what mothers and grandmothers are for, right? But 3 months ago, everything changed. Jessica called me on a Tuesday night with that honeyed voice she used when she wanted something important. "Margaret, I have wonderful news. Robert got a work project in another city, and we are going to be away for exactly 3 months. Can you imagine? 3 full months. My heart rejoiced, thinking that finally my son would have an opportunity to grow professionally. "That is great, my daughter," I told them. But then came the blow. "Oh, Margaret, but we have a little problem. We cannot take the children because changing schools would be too much for them. And you know how little ones are with changes. So we thought, how about they stay with you for these 3 months? 4 children in my 1-bedroom apartment for 3 full months?" "Jessica, I said my apartment is very small and I am too old to care for 4 children all day. Besides, my health has not been so good lately." Good. But she insisted. "Oh, Margaret, please, you are the only one we trust. And the kids love you so much." I ended up agreeing as always, but I gave them one condition. They had to wait until after my gallbladder surgery. Yes, because it turns out I had an important operation scheduled for a month later, something they knew perfectly well. I explained that I would need at least 6 weeks of recovery, that the doctor had told me no exertion and no stress. Jessica told me that was perfect, that she understood completely, that they would wait until I was fully recovered. Even Robert called me to confirm there was no rush, that my health came first. What liars they turned out to be. I had the surgery 5 weeks ago. 5 weeks of pain, of lying in bed, of barely being able to walk to the kitchen. My neighbor Eleanor was an angel. She brought me food and helped me with the basics. Because do you know who did not show up even once during my recovery? Exactly. Neither Robert nor Jessica nor my dear grandchildren. And now here we are. Jessica banging on my door like a mad woman, screaming that I am a cruel old lady, asking how could I not open up after they traveled so many hours, that the kids are tired and hungry, that they have heavy suitcases, and it is cruel to leave them on the stairs. But what hurts me the most is hearing Robert on the other side of the door, with that pleading voice I have known since he was a little boy. "Mom, please open the door. We just want to talk to you." The kids are scared, but do you know what? For the first time in my life, I am not going to open that door. For the first time in 71 years, Margaret is going to say no, and I am going to explain exactly why, even if it hurts my soul to do so. From my window, I see them down there on the building stairs. Jessica, with her perfectly combed hair, as always wearing that green dress that suits her so well, carrying a giant suitcase. The 4 children sitting on the steps. The youngest is barely 3 years old and is crying. Robert walks back and forth, running his hands through his hair, desperate because his key does not work. Do you want to know why I changed the locks? Because exactly 1 month ago, when I was still in bed recovering from my surgery, Robert and Jessica came to my apartment. I thought they were finally coming to visit me, to ask how I was, if I needed anything, how naive I was. They walked in as if they owned the place, Robert with his key, and went straight to inspect my apartment. Yes, just as you hear. They went around checking every corner, measuring spaces, moving my furniture. Jessica opened my closets, checked my refrigerator, and even opened the drawers of my dresser. Robert measured the bedrooms with his phone. "What are you doing?" I asked them from my bed still, with the stitches from the surgery hurting me. "Oh, Mom, do not worry," Robert told me. "We are just seeing how to better arrange things when we come with the kids. Jessica needs to know where she is going to put her things." Her things? Was Jessica bringing her things to my apartment? But if it was only for 3 months, why did she need to bring so many things? Jessica explained to me with that fake smile of hers that since they were going to be there so long, she needed to bring her clothes, her beauty products, and some furniture so the kids would be comfortable. Some furniture. It turns out some furniture meant completely replacing my living room, my sofa where I have watched television for 10 years, where I cried when my husband died, where I sewed my grandchildren's clothes. That sofa had to go to the basement because it was not appropriate for children. My dining table, the one my mother gave me 30 years ago, also had to be stored away because it was too delicate. Jessica had made a complete list of everything that had to change in my own house. My own house. The bed in my room had to be moved to the living room because she and Robert would need the master bedroom. I would sleep on an inflatable mattress in the living room along with the 4 children. An inflatable mattress? Me at 71 years old with back problems fresh out of surgery was going to sleep on an inflatable mattress in my own living room. But Jessica had an explanation for everything. "Margaret, you understand that we need privacy. Besides, at your age, you do not need so much space." That phrase stuck in my heart like a knife. At your age, you do not need so much space, as if because I am older, my comfort, my dignity, and my things were no longer important, as if I were a nuisance in my own home. But the worst came later. Robert took some papers out of his pocket. "Mom, we need you to sign this. It is just a document that says we can make decisions about the apartment while we are here. You know, just in case there is an emergency or we need to make some repair. Make decisions about my apartment that I bought with the money from my work, that I paid for over 20 years, where all my memories are, my photos, my late husband's things. They wanted me to give them legal power over my home. I told them no, that I needed time to think about it, that I had just gotten out of the hospital and could not make important decisions. Jessica made that face she makes when she does not get what she wants, like a spoiled child. Oh, Margaret, But we need to get organized. We already bought the tickets. We already arranged everything at Robert's job. You already bought the tickets? Without asking me if I was already recovered? Without confirming if I still agreed? That was when I realized that to them my opinion mattered nothing. I was just the convenient grandmother, the one who solves problems without asking questions. That night after they left, I cried like I had not cried since my husband's funeral. I cried for my naivety, for all the years I believed they valued me, for all the times I put their needs before mine. I cried because I realized that for my own son, I was just a free employee. The next day I called the locksmith. I changed all the locks on my apartment. When Robert asked me why I had done it, I told him the truth. Because this is my home and no one is going to enter here without my permission, not even you. He got very angry. He yelled that I was exaggerating, that I was acting like a crazy woman, that they just wanted to help me not be alone. Help me? By taking away my bed, my furniture, my privacy, my dignity? That was help? Jessica was worse. She called me crying, saying I was a cruel mother-in-law, asking how I could do that to my own grandchildren, that they had counted on me, that they had already made all the arrangements, that because of me, the kids were not going to be able to be with their dad during those 3 important months for his career. Lies. Everything was a lie. Because later I found out from my neighbor Eleanor, who has a sister working at the same company as Robert, that he did not have any special project, that he had simply decided to rent his house for 3 months to make extra money. They had found some tourists who were paying them very well to stay in their house during the high season. Do you realize? It was not a work project. It was a business. They wanted to make money renting out their house, and I was the perfect solution to avoid spending on a hotel or childcare. I was the free daycare, the unpaid domestic worker, the one who was going to sacrifice her comfort so they could do business. And when I told them no, when for the first time in my life I set boundaries, I became the villain of the story. The cruel grandmother, the crazy mother-in-law, the selfish old woman who does not want to help her family. But do you know what I discovered in these weeks? I discovered that it is okay to say no, that it is okay to defend my space, my dignity and my peace, that I am not a bad person for not allowing them to abuse me. Right now they are down there making a scene, waking up the whole neighborhood. Robert keeps trying to insert his old key. Jessica keeps screaming that I am crazy. The children are crying and I feel my heart breaking. But I am not going to open that door, not this time. I hear Robert's footsteps running up the stairs to my floor. His leather shoes echo on every step like hammer blows to my heart. Knock, knock, knock. Now he knocks on my door, but different from how Jessica did. He knocks softly, desperately. Mom, it is me, Robert. Please open the door. We need to talk. The kids are tired. They have traveled 8 hours by bus. Look, I know you are upset, but we can resolve this as a family. As a family? Now we are family? When I needed you to visit me during my recovery, when I was alone and scared after the surgery. Where was that family? When you were selling my comfort as if it were cheap merchandise, were we family then? Mom, please. I know you changed the locks. I understand you are upset, but think of the children. Little Mason is barely 3 years old. He is crying and does not understand why Grandma will not let us in. Oh, that child, Mason is my weakness, and Robert knows it perfectly well. He is the youngest of my grandchildren with those huge eyes and that smile that melts my heart. When he was a baby, I took care of him every weekend so Jessica could rest. I bought his diapers, his milk, his clothes. I spent $150 a month just on things for him. I hear his crying from up here, and my soul breaks. But I cannot give in, not this time. Because if I open that door now, if I allow them to enter, I will be teaching them that they can trample on me whenever they want, that my feelings do not matter, that it is enough to bring the children so that I become their obedient slave. Robert keeps talking from the hallway. Mom Jessica is very upset. She says you yelled at her on the phone 3 weeks ago, that you hung up on her when she called to confirm the date, that you have been acting very strange since your operation. Strange? Of course I have been strange. I have been thinking, something I apparently never did before. I have been remembering, calculating, adding up all the dollars I spent on them. All the times they said yes and then paid me with contempt. That call Robert mentions was exactly 20 days ago. Jessica called me as if nothing had happened with that sweet and fake voice. "Margaret, dear, are you better already? That is good because we need to confirm about the kids. We arrive Friday night." "Friday? Which Friday?" I asked her. "This Friday." She answered me as if it were obvious. "We already bought the tickets. We already arranged everything. The kids are super excited to spend time with Grandma." I explained that the doctor had told me I needed at least 8 weeks of complete rest, that I was still in a lot of pain, that I could barely carry a shopping bag. How was I going to take care of 4 energetic children? That I needed more time. "Oh, Margaret, but everything is already arranged. Besides, you are not going to carry them. They are big now. You just need to be there, feed them, bathe them, help them with homework." Simple things. Simple things? Cooking for 6 people 3 times a day is simple. Washing mountains of dirty clothes is simple. Waking up in the early morning when they have nightmares is simple. All that at 71 years old freshly operated on is simple. I told her no. For the first time in 15 years, I said no to my daughter-in-law, that I needed more recovery time, that they should look for another option for now, that maybe in a month or 2 we could talk about the subject again. She became furious. "Margaret, you cannot do this to us. We already paid for the tickets. We already handed our house over to the tenants. What are we going to do with the kids? Are we going to leave them on the street?" They were not going to leave them on the street. Jessica has 2 sisters, a mother, several cousins. Robert has friends, co-workers. There are daycares, nannies options. But of course, all those options cost money, and I was the free option. When I suggested they look for other alternatives, she screamed at me, "You are their grandmother. It is your obligation to take care of them. You cannot be so selfish. Think of someone other than yourself for once in your life." Selfish me? Me who has spent more than $15,000 on that family in the last few years. Me who stopped buying new clothes to be able to pay for my grandchildren's school uniforms. Me who ate beans all week to be able to take them to eat burgers on Sundays. I hung up the phone. For the first time in my life, I hung up the phone on someone in my family, and it felt liberating. But now Robert is here using the children as an emotional shield. Mom Mason is asking for you. He says he wants to see Grandma Margaret. Chloe and Liam are also confused. They do not understand why they cannot enter your house. Like always. Of course they do not understand. Because to them, I have always been the available grandmother, the one who never says no, the one who has candy in her purse and money for ice cream. No one has ever explained to them that Grandma is also a person with feelings, with needs, with boundaries. Mom, please. I am desperate. I have nowhere to take them tonight. I thought you had already changed your mind. Jessica was sure you were going to receive us when you saw us here with the kids. There is the truth. Jessica was sure. They bet on my emotional weakness. They came without warning, without confirming, because they knew that if they presented me with a done deal, I was not going to have the heart to tell them no. They calculated my love for the grandchildren well, but they underestimated my tiredness of being treated like an object. I peek through the peephole of the door. Robert looks truly desperate. He has dark circles under his eyes. His hair is messy. His tie is crooked. Jessica came up too and is standing next to him, but her expression is different. She does not look desperate, she looks furious. She has that look she gets when things do not go her way. Margaret, it is Jessica. We need to talk seriously. You cannot behave like a spoiled child. You have responsibilities to this family. Responsibilities? What exactly are my responsibilities? Because no one handed me a manual saying I have the obligation to sacrifice my health, my comfort, and my money for decisions others take without consulting me. Look, I know you are upset because we changed some plans, but that is life. One has to adapt. Robert has a very important work opportunity, and you are the only one who can help us. Lie. They keep lying. Because I already know the truth about his work opportunity. I already know they are doing business with their house, making $500 a month, renting it to foreign tourists. Money they are going to save while I spend my savings feeding and caring for their children. Margaret, open this door right now. The children are tired, hungry, and scared. If you do not open in 5 minutes, I am going to call the police and tell them an old woman is endangering 4 minors. The police? Is she threatening to call the police on me because I won't open my own house? Because I do not accept being invaded without my consent? Robert tries to calm her down. Jessica, please do not say that. Mom, she does not mean it. We are just desperate. But I know she does mean it. I have known Jessica for 15 years. When she wants something and does not get it the easy way, she uses threats, blackmail, emotional manipulation. And now that I dared to defy her, she's going to bring out all her artillery. From my window, I see a small group of neighbors forming in the courtyard of the building. Mrs. Higgins from the second floor is leaning out on her balcony, watching the whole scene. Mr. Henderson from the first floor came out with his dog and stood there pretending he is not watching anything, but listening to every word Robert and Jessica are screaming. And there is my guardian angel. Eleanor, my neighbor from the apartment next door, comes out of her door and walks directly to where the children are sitting on the stairs. Eleanor's 68 years old. She's a widow like me. And during these weeks of my recovery, she became the sister I never had. What is going on here? She asks Robert with that firm voice she has when something does not seem right to her. The children are crying. They are making a racket in the whole building. Can't you see there are people trying to rest? Robert looks at her with desperation. Eleanor, thank God you appeared. My mom changed the locks and won't let us in. I need you to help me convince her. The kids have nowhere to sleep tonight. Eleanor looks up towards my window and I make a discreet sign to her. She understands immediately. Eleanor is the only person who knows the whole truth about what happened these weeks. She was a witness to my pain, my crying, my despair, when I realized how they were using me. Ah, so you changed the locks, Margaret? She says out loud so everyone hears. How interesting. And why would a lady as gentle as Margaret have done that? Jessica approaches Eleanor with that fake smile she uses when she wants to win someone over. Eleanor, you know her well. You know Margaret sometimes gets a little difficult. Since her operation, she has been very weird, very paranoid. We just want to stay a few months while Robert works. A few months, says Eleanor, raising an eyebrow. And did Margaret agree to that? Because last week she told me a very different story. Robert gets nervous. What story? Mom sometimes exaggerates things. You know how older people are. Older people? Eleanor looks offended. Look, young man, I am also an older person, and I assure you my mind works perfectly well, and Margaret's too. In fact, she told me something very interesting about you too. Jessica turns pale. What? What did she tell you? Eleanor smiles, but it is not a kind smile. It is the smile of someone who is about to drop a bomb. She told me you wanted her to sign papers to give you control of her apartment, that you wanted to take away her furniture, her bed, put her to sleep on an inflatable mattress in the living room. Is that true? Robert tries to explain himself. No, it is not like that. We just wanted to organize ourselves better, make some temporary adjustments so we would all be comfortable. All comfortable, says Eleanor, getting louder. Was Margaret going to be comfortable sleeping on the floor of her own living room? At 71 years old, freshly operated on, was she going to be comfortable? The neighbors, who were pretending not to listen, now come closer. Mrs. Higgins comes down from her apartment. Mr. Henderson leaves his dog and joins the group. Now we are a public spectacle, exactly what Jessica wanted to avoid. Besides, continues Eleanor, she told me you already rented your house for 3 months, that this is no work project, but a business, that you are going to make $1,500 a month while Margaret spends her savings taking care of your children. Is that true? Asks Mrs. Higgins with a scandalized face. Are you going to make money while poor Margaret sacrifices herself? Jessica is furious now. That is none of your business. These are family problems, and Eleanor shouldn't get involved in what doesn't concern her. I don't care, says Eleanor, raising her voice. Of course I care. Margaret is my friend, my neighbor. During her recovery, I saw her cry every night. I saw her worried, scared, feeling her own family had abandoned her. Do you know how many times they came to visit her after her operation? None. Robert looks ashamed. Eleanor, we were busy preparing for the trip, organizing everything. Lie, screams Eleanor. You were busy counting the money you were going to make. Margaret showed me the WhatsApp messages where Jessica told her she had to sign the authorization papers. They wanted to take control of her own house away from her. The neighbors are horrified. Mr. Henderson shakes his head with disgust. I also have children, he says, but it would never occur to me to abuse my mother like that. Jessica is desperate now. You don't understand anything. Margaret is the grandmother. She has obligations to her grandchildren. Obligations, says Mrs. Higgins. A grandmother's only obligation is to love her grandchildren, not to sacrifice her health and money for the whims of irresponsible parents. Margaret screams Jessica towards my window. Come down here right now. Stop behaving like a child. These are your grandchildren and they need a place to sleep, but now I am no longer alone. Now I have support. I have witnesses. I have people who understand my situation. I feel stronger, more secure. I open my window completely and lean out. Jessica, Robert. I told you very clearly 3 weeks ago that I could not receive you yet, that I needed more recovery time. You decided to come anyway without my permission, betting that I was not going to have the courage to tell you no. But they are your grandchildren, screams Jessica. You cannot leave them on the street. I am not leaving them on the street. You brought them here without warning. You made that irresponsible decision, and you have to find the solution. Robert looks at me with those little boy eyes he used when he wanted something impossible. Mom, please, I promise this time it will be different. We are not going to ask you for money. We are not going to bother you. We just need a place to stay. Like the time you promised to pay back the $5,000 in 6 months. I yell at him. Like the time you promised you only needed me to watch Mason for a few hours and disappeared for the whole weekend. The neighbors are increasingly indignant. Eleanor has her arms crossed and an expression of total fury. Margaret, you do not have to justify yourself to anyone. This is your house, and you decide who enters and who does not. Mr. Henderson nods. Absolutely. And if these young people do not understand, that maybe they need us to explain it better. Jessica realizes she is losing the battle of public opinion. She changes strategy and starts crying. Please, Margaret, you do not know how desperate I am. Robert and I really need these 3 months. It is a unique opportunity for us. A unique opportunity to make easy money while I sacrifice myself, I think. But I am not going to fall for her crocodile tears anymore. If you really need these 3 months, find another solution. Rent an apartment, stay in a hotel, ask other relatives for help. But you are not going to solve your problems at the cost of my health and my peace. Robert is desperate now. Mom, what do we have to do for you to forgive us? Tell me what you want and we will do it. What do I want? I want you to respect me. I want you to understand that I am a person, not a free employee. I want you to recognize that you have abused me for years, and I want you to look for other options to solve your problems without involving me. But above all, I want you to leave my building right now and leave me in peace. Jessica stops crying abruptly when she realizes her tears are not working. Her face changes completely, as if she had taken off a mask. Now I see the real Jessica, the one who was always there, but who I refuse to recognize. Okay, Margaret, she says with a cold voice that gives me chills. If that is how you want to play, let's play. Robert, call your cousin Anthony the lawyer. Anthony the lawyer? My heart speeds up. Anthony is the son of my late husband's sister, an ambitious boy who I always disliked. Since he was little, he had that calculating look as if he were evaluating how much money you could give him. "Why do you want to call Anthony?" asks Robert nervously. "To prove to your mother that she cannot abandon her grandchildren this way. We are going to prove she is mentally unstable, that she is not capable of making important decisions. An older person who leaves 4 small children on the street clearly needs psychiatric help." The neighbors look at each other with horror. Mr. Henderson steps forward. "Miss, that is a very serious and completely false accusation." Eleanor is furious. "Jessica, how dare you? Margaret is the most sane and sensible person I know. You are the one acting irrationally, showing up without warning, and demanding they open the door for you." Jessica ignores her completely. Robert dials Anthony's number. "We need to document all this. Your mother's irrational refusal to help her family, her paranoid behavior, changing the locks, her abandonment of the grandchildren." Abandonment? Am I abandoning my grandchildren? The person who has spent more than $15,000 on those kids over the last few years is abandoning them because she refuses to be abused. Robert is trembling. "Jessica, I don't think it is a good idea. Mom is not abandoning anyone, she is just upset." "Of course it is a good idea," yells Jessica. "Your mother is behaving like a crazy woman. Look at these children. She is traumatizing them." I look down and see my 4 grandchildren. Mason, the little one, is crying silently, hugging his suitcase. Chloe, 6 years old, has that confused look children get when they do not understand why adults are yelling. Liam, 8 years old, is trying to comfort his younger brother. And Sophia, the oldest at 10, looks directly at me with an expression that breaks my heart. These children are not to blame for anything. They did not decide to come here without warning. They did not know their parents were using my illness as an excuse to make easy money. They only know that Grandma, who had always received them with open arms, now has the door closed. But I cannot give in. If I give in now, if I open that door out of pity for the children, I will be teaching them that emotional blackmail works. I will be telling them it is okay to abuse older people if you use children as a shield. Eleanor comes up the stairs to my floor and knocks gently on my door. "Margaret, it is me. Are you okay?" "I am okay, Eleanor. Thank you for supporting me." "Do you need me to call someone? The police, maybe?" From below, Jessica screams. "Yes, call the police. Let them come see how an old woman is endangering 4 minors." Robert finally finds the courage to contradict his wife. "Jessica, enough already. We are not going to call the police on my mother. Oh, no. Then what do you propose? That we stay here all night on the stairs? That the children sleep on the building floor?" "I propose we look for a hotel," Robert yells finally. "I propose we accept that Mom has the right to say no. I propose we stop behaving as if she owed us something." I lose my breath. Did Robert really just defend me? Is my son finally seeing what his wife has been doing to his mother for all these years? Jessica looks at him as if he had slapped her. "A hotel? With what money are we going to pay for a hotel for 3 months? Are you crazy? With the money you are going to make renting your house," says Eleanor from my door. $1,500 a month. Isn't that right? Jessica turns red with fury. That is not enough. After paying taxes and commissions, we are left with barely $1,000 a month. We cannot pay for hotel and food and childcare with that. There is the truth. Finally, she admits this is a business, that all this drama is because the deal is not profitable if they have to pay their own expenses. Mr. Henderson laughs bitterly. "Then maybe you shouldn't have made this business deal if you couldn't afford the consequences." Mrs. Higgins nods. "Exactly. No one forced you to rent your house. It was your decision, and decisions have consequences. Jessica is losing control completely. You don't understand anything. Margaret has a moral obligation to help her family. Grandparents exist for that. For that, I yell from my window. Grandparents exist to be exploited, to sacrifice our health and our money so you can do business. Is that my only function in this family? Yes. screams Jessica without thinking. Exactly for that. The silence that follows is deafening. Even the children stop crying. The neighbors look at her horrified. Robert covers his face with his hands. Jessica realizes what she just said, but it is already too late. The words are there, floating in the air like a full confession of what she really thinks of me. Eleanor speaks with a very calm voice, but full of indignation. Margaret, did you hear that? Did you hear what she really thinks of you? I heard it. And I think everyone heard it. Mr. Henderson shakes his head in disgust. Mrs. Jessica, you just demonstrated exactly why Mrs. Margaret is right not to open her door to you. Mrs. Higgins is indignant. What a shame. Speaking like that to the grandmother of your children. My mother would be rolling in her grave if any of us had spoken to her like that. Robert finally lifts his head. Jessica, how could you say that? How could you speak to my mother like that? I told the truth. Jessica yells. The truth everyone knows, but no one dares to say. Grandmothers are there to take care of grandchildren and help their children. That is what they were had for. That is what they were had for. As if I had been a breeding machine whose only purpose was to serve future generations. As if my feelings, my needs, my dignity mattered nothing. Robert is crying now. Mom, I don't think that. Please believe me that I don't think that. I know, Robert, I know you don't think that. But you have allowed your wife to treat me as if she thought that. You have allowed her to use me as a free employee for 15 years. Jessica is furious because she realizes she is losing Robert too. Robert, do not take her side. We are your wife and children. We are your priority. Robert looks at her with an expression I had never seen on him. Jessica, my mother, is also my family. And you just admitted you see her as an object to use when it suits us. Exactly, says Eleanor. And Margaret has every right to protect herself from that abuse. The children are watching all this. They are watching how their mother screams that their grandmother only exists to serve them. They are learning that older people do not deserve respect, that family is something used when convenient. And for the first time in my life, I do not feel guilty for defending myself. Suddenly, I hear fast footsteps coming up the stairs. A male voice I recognize immediately. Anthony. Robert really called him. My heart speeds up because I know Anthony is not coming as a concerned relative. He comes as a lawyer with very clear intentions. Where is the emergency? Asks Anthony, arriving at the second floor with his briefcase in hand and that fake smile that has always given me chills. Ah, Aunt Margaret, what is going on here? Aunt Margaret. He hasn't called me in 100 years, only when he wants something. The last time was 2 years ago when he asked me to lend him $3,000 for a business that never prospered. Money that, of course, he never paid back. Jessica approaches him immediately. Anthony, thanks for coming so fast. We need your professional help. Margaret is acting irrationally, putting the children in danger. Eleanor goes down the stairs and plants herself in front of Anthony. And you? I am Anthony Rivera, lawyer and relative of Mrs. Margaret. May I ask who you are? I am Eleanor, neighbor and friend of Margaret, and witness to everything that has been happening here. Anthony takes a notebook out of his briefcase. Perfect. Then you can testify about my aunt's erratic behavior. Have you noticed changes in her personality lately? Episodes of confusion, paranoia, aggression? Eleanor laughs, but it is not a happy laugh. Erratic behavior? The only erratic thing I have seen is a 71-year-old lady defending her dignity against a family that wants to abuse her. Anthony ignores her response and addresses Robert. Cousin, explain to me exactly what is happening. Why won't your mother allow you into her house? Robert looks uncomfortable. Anthony, maybe this is not necessary. Mom has her reasons to be upset. Her reasons? Jessica interrupts immediately. Her reasons are that she has gone crazy. She changed the locks without warning. She is leaving us on the street with 4 small children. Anthony writes something in his notebook. Interesting. Sudden change of locks. Refusal to allow entry to direct relatives. Lack of consideration for the welfare of minors. That is a lie, screams Eleanor. Margaret changed the locks because they wanted to take away her bed. Her furniture put her to sleep on the floor of her own house. Anthony looks at her as if she were crazy. Madam, please do not interfere with my professional evaluation. Professional evaluation? Mr. Henderson approaches. Young man, you are not a doctor or a psychiatrist. You are a lawyer. With what authority are you evaluating someone's mental health? Anthony stiffens. I have experience in cases of older adults with cognitive deterioration, and what I am seeing here are clear signs that my aunt needs professional help. From my window, I scream, Anthony, what signs? The sign that I refuse to be abused? The sign that I defend my house from invaders? Aunt Margaret, come down so we can talk in a civilized manner. Your behavior is scaring the children. I am not coming down. And the ones scaring the children are you with your screaming and threats. Anthony sighs theatrically. Aunt, your refusal to cooperate only confirms my suspicions. A rational person would want to resolve this situation for the sake of the grandchildren. A rational person? A rational person would allow herself to be turned into a free servant in her own home, have her bed, her privacy, her dignity stolen? Eleanor is furious. Mr. Lawyer, before you continue defaming my friend, you should know all the facts. Did you know these two rented their house to make money? That they came here without permission after Margaret clearly told them she could not receive them? Anthony seems surprised for a moment but recovers quickly. That is irrelevant. What is relevant is that there are 4 minors in a situation of helplessness because their grandmother irrationally refuses to provide them shelter. They are not helpless. I yell, they have parents who made irresponsible decisions and now want me to pay the consequences. Mrs. Higgins nods vigorously. Exactly. The children have parents perfectly capable of finding them a hotel. Anthony looks at her with disdain. Madam, please, we are talking about a serious legal matter. We do not need the opinion of what? Mr. Henderson looks offended. The opinion of respectable neighbors who know the situation better than you? Anthony is realizing he does not have the support he expected. He changes tactics. Aunt Margaret, be reasonable. We just want what is best for you. If you are going through a difficult emotional moment, there are professionals who can help you. Professionals? You mean the doctors who are going to declare I am crazy so you can seize my apartment? No one wants to seize your apartment, Aunt. We just want to make sure you are making sensible decisions. Eleanor laughs bitterly. What a coincidence that they want to make sure of that just now that Margaret refused to be their free employee. Anthony is getting nervous. Madam, I ask you not to interfere with... I interfere wherever I please, screams Eleanor. This is my house, too, and I am not going to allow you to abuse my friend. Robert finally speaks with a tired voice. Anthony. I think this was a mistake. My mom is not crazy. She is just hurt. And she is right to be. Jessica glares at him. Robert, you cannot take her side now. I am not taking anyone's side. I am recognizing that we have treated my mother badly. Anthony sees he is losing control of the situation. Robert, think carefully. If your mother is really mentally okay, why would she be leaving her own grandchildren on the street? Because they are not her responsibilities, says a new voice. We all turn around and see an elegant woman about 40 years old coming up the stairs. It is Sarah Jessica's younger sister. Sarah? Jessica looks surprised and alarmed. What are you doing here? I came because Robert called me desperate asking for help, and when I arrived downstairs and heard the screaming, I decided to come up to see what exactly was happening. Sarah looks around, evaluating the scene. Her sister screaming, the children crying, the neighbors, indignant Anthony with his notebook as if he were going to arrest someone. Jessica, what the hell are you doing? She asks with a cold voice. I am defending my family. Margaret refuses to take care of her grandchildren. Sarah approaches the children and hugs them. Poor things, how long have you been here on these stairs? 2 hours, says Sophia the oldest with a trembling voice. 2 hours? Sarah looks at her sister with horror. You have kept these children on the stairs for 2 hours, screaming. It is Margaret's fault. She won't let us in. Sarah looks towards my window. Mrs. Margaret, excuse my sister's behavior. May I ask why you cannot receive them? Finally, someone asks instead of assuming. Sarah, I came from a surgery 5 weeks ago. I need rest. I told them I could not receive them yet, but they came without warning. Sarah nods understandingly. And is it true they rented their house? Yes, it is true. For $1,500 a month. Sarah turns to Jessica with an expression of total fury. You rented the house and wanted to leave the kids with a lady freshly operated on? Seriously. Jessica looks trapped now that her own sister is here. Sarah, you don't understand the full situation. Margaret has always taken care of the kids. It is like her second nature. Her second nature, Sarah is increasingly indignant. Since when is caring for 4 kids the second nature of a 71-year-old lady freshly operated on? Anthony tries to intervene. Excuse me, miss, but this is a legal matter now. I am evaluating my aunt's mental capacity. Sarah looks at him as if he were an insect. You are whose lawyer, exactly? Jessica's? Robert's? Or are you here as a concerned relative? I am here because I worry about the welfare of my aunt and these children. Your aunt is perfectly fine. The only ones creating a problem are you showing up without warning and demanding entry to someone else's house. It is not someone else's house, says Jessica, desperate. It is their grandmother's house. Their grandmother's house corrects Sarah, not your house. She has every right to decide who enters and when. Eleanor smiles for the first time all night. Finally, someone with common sense. Sarah kneels in front of the children. Babies, did you know Grandma Margaret had just gotten out of the hospital? Sophia, the oldest, nods. Yes, Mom told us Grandma was sick, but that she was better now. And did she explain why you were going to stay with her for so long? No, says Liam, the 8-year-old. She just told us we were going to spend time with Grandma while Dad worked. Sarah looks at Jessica with fire in her eyes. You lied to them? You made them believe this was a vacation? I didn't lie to them. I just told them what was necessary so they wouldn't worry. What was necessary? Sarah is furious. What was necessary was not telling them they were going to live in their grandmother's house for 3 months while you made money. Anthony tries to regain control. Miss, please do not complicate the situation further. The important thing now is to resolve where these children are going to sleep. That is easy, says Sarah, standing up. At my house. At your house. Jessica looks alarmed. Sarah, you have your own life, your job. Exactly, I have my own life and my own job. But unlike you, I am not going to leave 4 children on the stairs of a building. Sarah takes out her phone. I am going to call a large taxi. Kids, pick up your things. You are coming with me tonight. No. Jessica intervenes. You cannot take my children. Oh no, do you prefer they sleep on the street? Robert finally reacts. Jessica accepts Sarah's help. The children need a safe place to sleep, but Jessica is losing total control. This was not the plan. The plan was for Margaret to take care of them. That is what grandmothers are for. Sarah looks at her with disgust. The plan was to exploit an older lady freshly operated on so you could make easy money. Eleanor applauds. Bravo! Finally, someone says it like it is. Anthony realizes his strategy is not working. Aunt Margaret, come down, please. We can reach a civilized agreement. There is nothing to agree on. Anthony. And stop calling me aunt as if we were close family. You only look for me when you need something. The neighbors laugh. Mr. Henderson nods. Mrs. Margaret, stand firm. Do not let yourself be manipulated. Mrs. Higgins shouts from her balcony. Margaret, the whole block is on your side. Do not give in. Sarah is organizing the children. Come on, little ones. Pick up your suitcases. At Aunt Sarah's house, there are comfortable beds, and tomorrow we will have pancakes for breakfast. The children, tired of the drama, start picking up their things obediently. But Mason, the smallest, breaks loose from Sarah's hand and runs toward the stairs. Grandma Margaret. Grandma Margaret. He yells with his little voice, "I want to see Grandma." My heart breaks. That little boy understands nothing of what is happening. He only knows that his grandmother, who always receives him with candy and hugs, now won't open the door for him. Mason. Love. I yell to him from the window. Grandma loves you very much, but she cannot receive you right now. Aunt Sarah is going to take very good care of you. Why can't you, Grandma? Are you mad at us? Tears escape me. I am not mad at you, my love. I could never be mad at you. Grandma just needs to rest a little more. Sarah takes Mason in her arms. Little one? Grandma Margaret was very sick. The doctors said she needs lots of rest to get better. Like when I had the flu and couldn't go to the park. Exactly like when you had the flu. Sometimes we need time to heal. Jessica is desperate seeing she is losing the children too. Sarah, you cannot take them. They are my children. And you are their mother, says Sarah firmly. That is why it is your responsibility to find them a safe place to sleep, not leave them crying on some stairs. The taxi arrives and honks. Sarah carries Mason and takes Chloe's hand. Robert, help me with the suitcases. Robert obeys in silence. He looks ashamed, defeated. When he is loading the suitcases into the taxi, he looks up at me. Mom, forgive me. You are right about everything. I didn't know how badly we have treated you. I know, Robert, but knowing is not enough. I need you to change things. I will. I promise you, I will. Jessica approaches the taxi desperate. Robert, we cannot stay at my sister's house. We have to find another solution. The solution was respecting my mother's decision from the beginning, says Robert with a tired voice. But you preferred to bet on her kindness. Anthony puts away his notebook, frustrated. Aunt Margaret, this does not end here. I am going to be watching your welfare. Anthony says Eleanor with a threatening voice, if you bother Margaret again with false legal threats, I myself am going to call the Bar Association to report you for abuse. Anthony leaves without saying more. Jessica gets into the taxi crying, but they are no longer tears of manipulation. They are tears of rage because her plan failed completely. Before the taxi leaves, Sophia rolls down the window. Grandma Margaret, I love you. Get better soon. I love you too, my girl. Behave well with Aunt Sarah. The taxi pulls away and finally there is silence in my building. The neighbors start to disperse, but first they approach my window. Margaret. You did the right thing, says Mr. Henderson. Do not let anyone make you feel guilty. Mrs. Higgins nods. You are a very brave woman. Not many people our age dare to defend themselves like that. Eleanor comes up to my floor and knocks on the door softly. Margaret, can I come in? I think you need company after all this. For the first time all night, I open my door. Eleanor enters my apartment and immediately hugs me. I cry like I hadn't cried in years, but they are not tears of sadness. They are tears of liberation, of relief, of having finally found the courage to defend myself. Margaret, I am so proud of you, she tells me while pouring me a chamomile tea. It was the bravest thing I have seen in my life. I sit on my sofa in my living room surrounded by my things, and for the first time in weeks I feel truly at peace. There are no suitcases piled in the corners. There are no toys scattered all over the floor. There are no screams of children running down the hallways. Just my home, quiet and tidy as it should be. Do you think I did right? I ask Eleanor. Am I not a horrible grandmother for denying them entry? A horrible grandmother. Eleanor almost spits out her tea, laughing. Margaret, you are the most generous grandmother I know. The problem is they confused your generosity with weakness. You are right. For 15 years, I confused love with submission. I thought loving my family meant saying yes to everything, sacrificing myself without limits, putting their needs always before mine. But that was not love, it was self-destruction. My phone rings. It is a message from Sarah. Mrs. Margaret, the children are fine. They ate dinner, bathed, and are already sleeping. Tomorrow we will talk calmly about all this. Thank you for teaching us that one can defend oneself with dignity. I show the message to Eleanor and we both smile. Sarah turned out to be the angel I did not expect, the sensible person in the middle of chaos. Another notification on my phone. This time it is Robert. Mom, I am in a hotel near Sarah's house. Jessica is furious with me. She says I am a traitor for not supporting her. But you were right about everything. I ask your forgiveness for all these years. Tomorrow I want to go talk to you, just me, so you can explain to me how to fix this. I show it to Eleanor too. She nods approvingly. At least your son is starting to wake up. Although it was about time. Another 20 minutes pass in comfortable silence. Eleanor helps me pick up the few dirty dishes I have, make sure all the windows are closed tight, checks that the door has all locks engaged. You know what gives me the most satisfaction of all this, I tell her, while we prepare to sleep? That for the first time in my life, I do not feel guilty for setting boundaries. That is the key, Margaret. Boundaries are not walls to hurt others. They are fences to protect ourselves. The next morning, I wake up and for the first time in weeks, my back does not hurt. There is no noise of children running, no television at full volume, no screams asking for breakfast. Only the golden silence of my peaceful home. I make my tea calmly without rush. I sit at my dining table, the table my mother gave me, and eat breakfast looking out the window. The day is beautiful, sunny, full of possibilities. My phone rings. It is Robert. Mom, can I go talk to you? Just me without Jessica, without kids. I need to understand many things. I answer yes, but it will be at the coffee shop on the corner on neutral ground. I am not ready for him to enter my house again. I still need to protect my space. An hour later, I am sitting in front of my son in the coffee shop where I have come for years. Robert looks different, smaller, as if he had lost that arrogance he always had when he came with Jessica. Mom, he started with a broken voice, I don't know where to start asking for your forgiveness. Start by recognizing exactly what you did wrong, I tell him, because if you don't understand the mistakes, you are going to repeat them. Robert nods and takes a notebook out of his pocket. Last night I couldn't sleep, so I made a list of everything I remembered. I want you to correct me if I forget something. He proceeds to read a list that surprises me with its honesty. The $5,000 we never paid back. The expensive gifts we expected on every birthday and Christmas. The times we disappeared for full days, leaving you with the children without warning. The comments about your age, about what you should do as a grandmother. But the worst, he continues with tears in his eyes, was that we treated you like an employee instead of like my mother. As if your only value was what you could do for us. Exactly, I tell him, that was the worst. Not the money, not the tiredness, but feeling that for my own family, I was not a complete person, just a function. Robert cries openly now, Mom, how can I fix this? What do I have to do to regain your trust? First, I explain you have to recognize that you cannot stay married to someone who sees me as an object. Jessica is not going to change. Robert. She demonstrated it clearly last night. Robert stays silent for a long time. I know he says finally, I have known it for years but didn't want to admit it. Jessica has always been manipulative, but I thought it was only with me. It is not just with you, it is her way of seeing the world. She genuinely believes we older people exist to serve her. Second, you need to set clear boundaries with her about how she is going to treat me. If she cannot respect me as a person, then she cannot be part of my life. And the children? He asks with a broken voice. Are you not going to see your grandchildren anymore? Robert. I love those children more than my own life, but I cannot keep being their slave grandmother. If you want me to have a relationship with them, it has to be on terms of mutual respect. What does that mean exactly? It means visits are scheduled in advance, that no one shows up without warning, demanding I take care of them. It means if you need a babysitter, you ask me with respect if I can and accept my answer whether it is yes or no. It means I am not your free childcare employee. Robert nods. I understand. Anything else? Yes, I want you to pay me the $5,000 you owe me. Not necessarily all at once, but I want a real payment plan. And I want you to recognize publicly in front of the children that you ask me for forgiveness for having treated me badly. Robert looks surprised. In front of the children, especially in front of the children. They need to see that older people deserve respect, that grandmothers are not objects to use. If they do not learn that now, they are going to repeat the same pattern with their own parents when they are adults. Robert takes notes on everything I tell him. His attitude is completely different from usual. For the first time, he is really listening to me, not just waiting his turn to speak. Mom, can I ask you something? Of course. When did you start realizing we were treating you badly? Was it something gradual, or was there a specific moment? It was gradual at first. I explain. Little things that bothered me, but that I justified. But the specific moment was when Jessica told me that at my age, I no longer needed so much space. There, I understood that for her, I was not a complete person, just a nuisance that had to be tolerated. Robert covers his face with his hands. My God, Mom, did she really say that? She said that and much more. She made me feel like a burden, as if my comfort didn't matter because I am old. You are not a burden, Mom. You are my mother, and you deserve all my respect and love. Thank you for saying that, Robert, but words are not enough. I need to see actions. You are going to see them, he promises with determination. I don't know how I am going to handle the situation with Jessica, but you are going to see them. We stay in silence for a few minutes drinking our coffee. For the first time in years, I feel I am really talking to my son, not to Jessica's husband, who had to choose between pleasing her or respecting me. Robert. I finally tell him, I want you to know that I love you. I will always love you, but love does not mean allowing them to disrespect me. I understand Mom and I love you too. That is why I am going to do whatever is necessary to fix this. 3 months have passed since that dramatic night on the stairs of my building. 3 months that have completely changed my life and the relationship with my family. I'm sitting on my sofa in my apartment writing in the journal I started after everything that happened. Eleanor suggested I write to process my emotions, and she was right. The first month was the hardest. Jessica tried everything to make me give in. She called me crying, sent me photos of the children with sad faces. She even showed up at my building 2 more times. But I was no longer alone. The neighbors had become my guardians. Mr. Henderson and Mrs. Higgins took turns ensuring no one bothered me. The second time Jessica came, Mr. Henderson confronted her directly in the lobby. He told her that if she continued harassing an older lady freshly operated on, he himself would call the police. Jessica left furious, screaming that we were all meddlesome old people. But she hasn't returned. Robert, on the other hand, has been coming to visit me every Saturday during these 3 months. At first, our conversations were tense, full of awkward silences and tears. But little by little, we have been rebuilding our relationship on new, healthier foundations. He has been paying me the $5,000 he owed me, $200 every month religiously. That makes $600 already. It is not much money, but for me, it represents something more important respect. It is the first time in 15 years they fulfill a financial promise with me. But most important of all is that Robert made the decision I knew he had to make, but didn't dare ask him directly. He separated from Jessica. It was not easy for him. He told me they had terrible fights for weeks. Jessica accused him of choosing his manipulative mother over his own wife. She told him I had brainwashed him that he was a bad father for not defending his children. But Robert had finally opened his eyes. The straw that broke the camel's back was when Jessica tried to use Anthony to prove I was mentally incapacitated. Turns out she had been feeding him false information, telling him I talked to myself, that I left the stove on, that I forgot important things. All lies, of course, but Anthony was building a case to declare me incompetent. Robert discovered Jessica's plans when he found emails between her and Anthony. There he realized the level of manipulation and cruelty of his wife. She didn't just want to use my house, she wanted to take it away from me completely. That revelation was the end of their marriage. Now Robert lives in a small apartment near Sarah's house, where the children stayed temporarily. He is in the process of divorce and fighting for joint custody. He tells me it is the hardest decision he has made in his life, but also the most correct. And my grandchildren. Oh, my grandchildren. I miss them so much it physically hurt. But Robert kept his promise. A month ago, he brought me to visit them one by one to explain what had happened. Sophia, the oldest, was the first. At 10 years old, she is very smart and understood immediately. Grandma Margaret, she told me, Mom always said you had to do whatever she wanted because you were our grandmother. But you are also a person, right? Yes, my love, I am also a person with feelings. She asked for my forgiveness on behalf of all her siblings. She said she didn't know it was wrong to come without warning, that she didn't know she had hurt my feelings. We cried together and then baked cookies, like in the old days, but now with a new understanding between us. Liam, the 8-year-old, was more direct. Why did Mom yell at you, Grandma? Why did she say you were mean? I explained to him, with words appropriate for his age, that sometimes adults behave badly when they do not get what they want, that yelling is not okay, no matter how upset we are. Chloe, 6 years old, asked me if I didn't love them anymore. I assured her I love them just as always, but that now we have new rules for visiting each other, rules that protect us all. And Mason, my little 3-year-old, simply climbed onto my lap and said, Grandma, are you not sick anymore? Can we play now? Yes, my love, we can play now. Now I see them every 2 weeks on Saturday afternoons. Robert brings them after lunch, and they stay until 6. They are scheduled respectful visits full of love but also clear boundaries. The children have learned that Grandma Margaret loves them but also has rules that must be respected. I no longer bring expensive gifts nor spend money I don't have on them. Instead, we do activities together, cook play cards, watch movies. I have taught them that love is not measured in dollars spent, but in quality time shared. Jessica tried to sabotage these visits at first. She told the children I was mean, that I didn't love them, that their dad had abandoned her because of the crazy grandmother. But the children don't believe her anymore. They have seen the difference between the calm and loving visits with me and the constant dramas of their mother. Last week, I received an unexpected call. It was Sarah, Jessica's sister. Mrs. Margaret, she told me I wanted to thank you for what you did that night. Thank me? Why? Because you taught us all that it is okay to say no, that it is okay to defend oneself, that love does not mean allowing oneself to be abused. She told me that after seeing how I defended myself, she also set boundaries with Jessica. She told her she could help her with the children temporarily, but wasn't going to allow her to treat her like a free employee. That if she wanted help, it had to be with respect and gratitude. She also told me that other relatives had started defending themselves from Jessica. Apparently, I wasn't the only one she manipulated and exploited. It was a pattern that had been coming for years, but no one had dared to confront her until they saw me do it. Robert confirmed this information. He told me Jessica's family was in shock because for the first time, someone hadn't given in to her manipulations, that I had been like an example that it was possible to defend oneself. It wasn't my intention to become an example for anyone. I just wanted to protect my dignity and my health. But apparently, when an older person defends herself firmly, she inspires others to do the same. Anthony, by the way, faced consequences for his false legal threats. Eleanor kept her promise and reported him to the Bar Association. He was officially reprimanded for attempting to intimidate an older person with unfounded legal procedures. He doesn't dare even greet me when we meet on the street anymore. Now, 3 months later, I can honestly say I am happier than I have been in years. My apartment is my sanctuary again. I have quiet routines no one interrupts. I read books. I watch my favorite shows. I cook for myself without rushing. Eleanor and I have become best friends. We drink tea together every afternoon. We share books. We go to the market on Wednesdays. I have a rich social life that does not depend on being anyone's helpful grandmother. My neighbors treat me with new respect. Mr. Henderson tells me I am the bravest woman he knows. Mrs. Higgins tells me her own family problems and asks for advice. I have become, without wanting to, a sort of counselor for older people who are being abused by their families. And my finances. For the first time in years, my finances are stable. I don't spend fortunes on unnecessary gifts. I don't lend money they won't pay back. I don't pay expenses for others. With the pension I receive and Robert's monthly payments, I can live comfortably without financial stress. But most important of all is that I have recovered my dignity. I no longer feel like an employee in my own life. I no longer accept disrespect for fear of losing my family's love. I have learned that true love does not require abusive sacrifices. This morning, Robert brought me a letter from Sophia, my oldest granddaughter. It says, "Dear Grandma Margaret, thanks for teaching us that grandmothers are also important people. When I grow up, I am going to treat my grandmother like you deserve to be treated. I love you very much. Sophia." I cried when I read that letter. I cried because I realized my decision to defend myself not only saved me, it also taught my grandchildren an invaluable lesson about respect and dignity. The sun is coming through my window, illuminating my quiet and tidy living room. In a few hours, Robert will come with the kids for our weekly visit. We're going to make popcorn and watch a movie together. It is going to be a perfect afternoon full of love, but also mutual respect. And for the first time in my life, I do not feel guilty for being happy on my own terms. I am Margaret. I am 71 years old, and I finally learned that it is okay to say no, that it is okay to set boundaries, that it is okay to defend oneself, and that it is never, never too late to start respecting oneself.